maybe an unusual thanks, but to all of you. I know that the journey to these championships for all our stakeholders and athletics family have been complicated, but I also know that it's been the easiest journey for you, and I'm not just talking about flights and schedules and hotels, I'm actually just talking about current climate, the budgets, and as you're operating within the numbers and the quality of the reportage that I've actually, for one, witnessed for this week. Quick audit. This is obviously the last day. One more session, 8 more medals to go. 1,700 athletes from 179 countries, plus of course the athlete refugee team. They've all been competing here. We've been watched by more than 130,000 ticketed spectators, with one sold-out session still to go, and I can confirm tonight's session is sold out. In terms of the performances, this will go down as the most universal edition in the history of this global event. More countries than ever before have had athletes that have reached finals, even before the last competition session is held. A record 79 countries have had finalists up to this stage, up from 76 countries in Doha in 2019, with Liberia, Niger, Pakistan, Samoa reaching a final for the first time in their World Championship history. Every continental area features at least one world champion, while Peru and Kazakhstan won their first ever gold medals, and India and Burkina Faso also had their best ever medal performances. Oregon could also beat the record for the number of countries winning gold medals at one championships. That was 26 in 2017 in London, with 24 countries already on the gold medal list compared to 20 in Doha 3 years ago. The US team has easily surpassed the best performances by a host nation at the World Championships and may claim the record for the most medals at a single competition championships to date. Well done. I think you made your point fairly early on. That tally was strengthened by the medal sweep in the men's 100 metres and the 200 and shot put. Jamaica, meanwhile, achieved a clean sweep, as we know, of its own, taking all 3 medals in the women's 100. Peru's Kimberly Garcia has been the top individual performer of the championships, landing double gold in the women's race vault, first day. Had she entered as a separate team, she would now be placing 7th on the medals table. Broadcast and social media, just a quick romp through there. Our US broadcast partner NBC reports that this championships has already reached more viewers, 13.7, than any other previous World Championships, with 3 days of ratings still to be reported and accounted for. The World Championships have also spurred substantial growth and interaction across World Athletics social media platforms, attracting 400,000 new followers, more than 7 million engagements, and more than 41 million video shows, bringing the total following to our social media channels to more than 9.1 million across 5 platforms. And legacy, important. World Athletics and Parkrun have combined to help the Eugene and Springfield communities in Oregon open parkrun events as a legacy of the World Athletics Championships in Oregon 2022. That's my scene setter. Thank you.
Thanks, Seb. Max, did you want to say anything? Otherwise, I'll open it to questions.
We can open questions.
Okay. Yes, hands up. There will be microphones.
Hi, yes, Amy Tennery from Reuters. Some question for Max. About a year ago, the U.S. men were walking out of Tokyo without an individual track gold. Now they've had an amazing showing here. What do you attribute that turnaround to?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first part.
Do you mind just removing your mask while you ask the question?
Sure. Sorry, Amy Tennery from Reuters. A year ago, the U.S. men were walking out of Tokyo without an individual track gold. This World Championships have performed extraordinarily well. What do you attribute that turnaround to?
Yeah, I attribute the performance of all of our... I attribute the performance of all of our athletes to our investment in both the sports science and medicine area, along with our high performance plan. Our team is laser focused on supporting our athletes and the coaches with their needs, putting the foundational programs together for them, and just working really hand in hand with all of the personal coaches. So sports science, medicine, our high performance team, I give all the credit to.
Thank you.
Hi, Sean Ingle, The Guardian. Question for Max. Max, would you like the US to host the World Champs again, possibly even as soon as 2027 before LA? And secondly, what can you be doing as a federation to do more to promote these great stories we've heard throughout these champs to the wider American audience, so track gets the audience it really deserves? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I will tell you that anecdotally, I've had more people who are not traditional track fans reach out to me. There's a huge awareness because of the World Championships. As we mentioned earlier, we're working in partnership with World Athletics to get both quantitative and qualitative data as to where the sport sits. We're coming up with tons of strategies to reposition the sport and the brands and to tell the story of the athletes. But even more so, we have a pretty robust plan leading up to LA 2028 from the grassroots to national events. So whether it's television, storytelling, strategies to reach out to influencers, we're going to capitalize on this event and use it as a catalyst to reposition the sport. As far as hosting other events, we'd love to continue to host events. The more that we can support and give the visibility to the sport is great for all of us. The timetable is something that we'd have to work through, but we enjoy, like I said, a great working relationship with World Athletics, and we look forward to hosting international events here.
Down here, and then we'll head to the back and move forward. Thanks.
Yeah, question for Seb. I'm Ken Stone with Times of San Diego, and I also have a long-time blog devoted to Masters Track. And my question for you is, we've seen wonderful performances by 35-plus athletes, such as Allison and Shelly Ann and Cara. And the last time 50 and 60-year-old athletes were competing in Masters exhibition events in the Worlds were at Beijing 2015 and Portland 2016. And in those cases, out of 4 races, 3 were run by British athletes. So my question for you is, when will we next see a Masters exhibition races at the Worlds in Budapest or 2015, 2025 Tokyo, or when?
Probably not. We looked at this, we looked at it operationally, we looked at it in terms of the status of the sport. Masters has its own vehicles, a very successful one. It has it in 2 different iterations. We have Masters in all our other disciplines. We actually genuinely feel that the World Championships can cater for athletes, as you quite rightly point, over the age of 35. But as far as I'm concerned and the Council is concerned, it's really important that we hold to the format that we currently have.
Okay. We were going straight to the back. The gentleman in the purple shirt that's not a volunteer or workforce.
Kevin Sully from FlowTrack. This is for Seb. I know there's a formal process to change the false start rule, but I'm wondering how you feel about it personally.
Everything will be reviewed. As I've said before, we have a leadership team that will look at it. We will have every one of our functional areas, not just across false starts. We'll look at everything that has worked well here, everything that we will want to improve on, not simply because that's a criticism for here, but every championship's like the athletes. They want to be better than the championships before. And yeah, the false start rule, I'm sure, will be looked at by the Competition Commission, and everything is on the table, as it always is after a championship.
Thank you. If we could just move forward down this side, the gentleman that's wearing a shirt and a tie. Thank you. Not doing a fashion commentary all the way through.
Hi, Jonathan Gould here from Let's Run Doc. Questions for Max. This has been one of the biggest events ever held on US soil for track and field. And I guess looking forward, one of the next ones would be the 2024 US Marathon Trials. And that is an event where the bid was supposed to have been awarded on July 14th. We're now July 24th, and there's been no update. So I was wondering why the delay? Are there any finalist cities, and if so, which ones? And when do you expect the venue and the date to be announced for that event?
As we've talked in the last couple of settings, our events team will address when that bid goes up. Adam Schmenk would be the more appropriate person to give you the details on that question. Thank you for it, but we'll get back to you.
Okay, and I think there was another question right in front, then Mitch will come over to you on your side. Yeah.
My name is Max Haupt from the German News Market. This question is for Mr. Koch. The German athletes didn't have a lot of success in the last few days, only one medal up until this point. Out of a marketing and revenue generating perspective, how important is it for you that German athletes have success in track?
Well, Germany is a really important country for us. You're hosting the European Championships literally in a week or so's time. German athletes have been a large part of the history of track and field. You come with great coaches, great technical officials, and a wealth of history. So of course, you know, I want every federation to be punching not just its weight, but above its weight. So it's really important. I'm sure, like every federation, whether they return as successful or less successful, will want to understand the reasons behind that success or underperformance. And I know Jürgen very well. He will want to know those answers.
Okay, and Mitch, yeah. I would stand up and belt it out, Mitch.
Seb, Mitch Phillips from Reuters. You said last week that the women's 1500 blew you away, was one of your favourite races. Can you just tell us what you thought personally of the men's 1500 and what that was like, given that medal?
What do you think? What do you think I'm going to say, Mitch? No, look, let me just dwell for a moment on the women's 1500. I said that because, first of all, I thought it was a terrific race. I also, I'm not wanting to turn this into a sort of British eulogy, but I thought Laura Muir probably made one of the braver decisions in any competition in Eugene. You know, to decide to follow what was, you know, for many of us, a jaw-dropping early pace was brave. Had she not done that, she'd have probably been sitting in no man's land and, you know, probably in the end pulling along behind the leading bunch. So that was why I said that. And of course, to have, you know, a British athlete holding that title for the first time, the World Championship title for the first time since 1983 was spectacular. I know Jake extremely well. I know Jeff, his father, and Jake's mother was my eldest daughter's first PE teacher. So it's a sort of, you know, there's a warmth there. So I was delighted for Jeff. And I was actually delighted because, you know, again, if you look at Europe's breakthrough in middle distance and endurance again, you have 5 athletes in the top 5. And I think that's really important where, you know, we're spreading the good news, really.
Okay, so yes, the gentleman there, then we're going to go over that side and we'll come back. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Alex from Kenya. Question to Sepco. What do you think about Africa's performance so far in these events in Oregon, both on the track and on the field events? Thank you.
Sorry, on the track and the road? No, look, Africa is sitting, just behind NACAC in the number of medals that have been won, gold medals that have been won. So, I was particularly, I'm going to say that, aren't I? But I was particularly impressed with the 800 meters last night. I thought that was a dominant piece of running, and I love to see dominant running in 800 meters. The road has been, the road again has been a powerful presence for Africa. And we've seen some terrific stuff on the track. I think many of the African federations have been pleased with the outcomes of these championships. And engagement from Africa beyond the competition is really important. It's a powerful continent, and we want to be properly engaged, and we want them properly represented at championships.
Okay, thank you. We're going across here. We've got the gentleman in a blue shirt. We're then going behind him, and then we're going over that back to the grey shirt. And then we'll go over here and then to the back. Can anyone work out what that animal is? No? Okay.
Thank you. Szabolcs Vince from Hungary, Budapest. I have two questions for Seb. The first one is we are in a special situation because we have only 1 year left to the next World Championships in Budapest. So, which means we have every year some big event in the calendar. So, what does it mean, this busy schedule for the track and field itself, and how big a role can play Budapest in this process?
Well, it's fantastic that we have a World Championships in a year's time, but that still poses some challenges. It poses challenges for the athletes because, I think we recognise that since they've been able to get back to at least a semblance of normality, their performances have actually been off the graph. You have to say that the athletes dealt with COVID and the challenges of lockdown and the lack of, in some cases, municipal training facilities, interrupted programs, schedules, obviously in terms of training, even the ability in difficult winter climates to get overseas to warmer climates because of travel restrictions. Everywhere you look, this has been the most impactful on the athletes. So that has been the first challenge. The upside is, if you look at the next 6 or 7 years, we have athletics absolutely centre stage in Northern Hemisphere terms, in the most broadcastable part of the year. But it is going to mean athletes making some quite tough decisions, both about the rhythm and pace of those 4 or 5 years. Coaches are going to have to be probably guiding them in a more predictable way because of just not wanting burnout. So, look, I'm really pleased that we've got the opportunity to showcase athletics, but I don't minimise some of the challenges that athletes are going to face, particularly around this season where, you've got a World Championships, a Commonwealth Games, a European Championships, area championships, and there'll be some crossover as well because in literally a few days' time, we're all in Cali for the Under-20 Championships, and some of our rising stars that have been performing here, that have been in the national team here, are eligible to compete as juniors. So yeah, it's a challenge all round. The good coaching teams, the federations that are across this will be guiding, I hope, in a very sensible way.
And my second question is back to Budapest. As a president of the World Athletics, how many times did you travel to Budapest in the past few years, and what do you think about the preparation and organization there?
I've been to Budapest 3 or 4 times in the last few years. I was there just a few weeks ago for the World Swimming Championships, which gave me an opportunity to look at different formats. I like to keep across the way other sports are presenting their championships, but it also gave me an opportunity to catch up in detail with the organising committee there. I'm really happy with the way the event is progressing. I went into the stadium. I think I was probably formally the first person to actually run in that stadium, although it's still a bit of a building site, but it will be terrific. The legacy value of the games is going to be really important, and I'm really looking forward to being there next year.
Thank you. Yes, gentleman behind. I've got you at the back. I'm just going that way, and then I'm going to the back. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Mukhtar Abdullah. I work for Joy FM in Ghana. My question goes to Sebastian Coe. If you take a look at the World Athletics Championships, it's been hosted almost across every single continent bar Africa. What must Africa do to be able to hold the championship? Kenya had bid for the 2025 edition, but unfortunately, it went to Tokyo. What must Africa do to also host the World Championships?
Well, first of all, actually, I'm not nitpicking, but it is important to recognize that we haven't actually had a World Outdoor Championships in Oceania, and we haven't had one in South America, two of our continental associations. So this isn't just a unique challenge for Africa. It's important that, you know my views about this, it's important that we, wherever possible, globalize the sport, and we do take it into new markets, but also to be able to support areas that really do have a passion and a history for our sport. We went through a very open and transparent process. It's a very different process from the beauty parade that we've had in the past. It's evaluative. We have a bid evaluation panel. We have proper metrics, and those metrics are available and are being shared with all the cities, not only Tokyo that won, but also those cities that were not successful on the day. And I still have an overarching ambition within the foreseeable future to help Africa to stage a World Championships. And that's about human capacity, it's about operational ability, it's about commercial partnerships. And I think World Athletics recognizes that the right for that to be happening at the right moment, we have to sit alongside a local organizing committee in Africa to help this happen. It's very important.
Okay, thank you. We've got to need a mic down here, the gentleman in grey. Thank you. And then we'll come over here, and then we'll go to the back.
Hello. Radek Koniarski from Poland, from Gazeta Wyborcza. I have a question for Mr. Coe on behalf of Paweł Fajdek, the hammer thrower. He sent you a proposal for an event, throwing event, hammer throwing event across Europe. What is your opinion about that, and have you answered him?
Now, I spoke to him very recently, actually in transit, through one of the European airports at about, I think it was at about 4:30 in the morning in Amsterdam. I've also had that conversation with him at the centenary of the Polish Track and Field Federation, and I think also a conversation with him at the European Convention. So we do communicate, and yes, I do respond to his letters, and I've spoken to our European colleagues about this as well, and I've said that when the dust settles at the end of this championship season, we will look at that.
Thank you. And then across here, before we head to the back, I really have you at the back.
Hi, this is Gordon from FlowTrack. This is for Sebco. One of the values of World Championships is that it's the pinnacle of the year for all the athletes. There's no training through it. It's what matters most, and that's what makes these events the most viewed. Other sports decide to not just have one World Championship. They do a 4 major system, like in golf and in tennis. You have Wimbledon, US Open, etc. Has there ever been any thought to adopting a 4 major system for the athletics?
My personal instinct is that athletics doesn't need that. We have a raft of competitions, area level. We have championships in all our 6 continents. We have a really detailed one-day series. We have other parts of that landscape. So I actually genuinely think the World Championships is a standalone. It's the pinnacle. I don't think you need to particularly mess with that. I think there may be some discussion about what the format format in years to come looks like. But I don't think you need to start trying to make additional supplementary competitions around it. I think it is what it is, which is, outside of the Football World Cup, the second largest sporting gathering.
Okay, we're going to the back now. First of all, the gentleman in yellow. I know there's about 4 of you. I've got you all, and then we'll come back down here. And could you stay where you are? Thank you.
Thank you for your time, Mr. President. Here, thank you. In 2 weeks, in my country, Colombia, my city, Cali, the new World Athletics Championship. Please, what's your opinion about this competition? Thank you.
It's an important competition. I've said this before. The most appropriate audit, the most revealing audit of your sport is actually not, in a way, about what we've witnessed here, fantastic as it is. For me, the litmus test is what is going on at junior level. And that is important for 2 reasons. First of all, you identify the talent. You identify what that talent needs to make the most difficult journey in athletics. Any coach will tell you, taking a junior athlete out of the junior ranks and that transitional period into the senior ranks is the toughest challenge in coaching. And that's the period where you have the highest attrition rate. And making sure that we have a championships that identifies that talent. One of the sobering statistics is that the vast majority of athletes that we will witness in Calais that win medals in those championships don't actually even make it into their senior national team 2 or 3 years down the road. So these championships are really important. If you remember, we decided not to have the under-18 championships because many of the coaches, many of the federations felt that that wasn't a particularly useful test at that stage in the life of the competitor, but the junior championships are really important. And for me, being in Calais, as I will be, just understanding a little bit more about what's going on the ground and the team delegations and having those discussions about where that delta may exist and what we can do in terms of resourcing and our own support through World Athletics is really important.
Thank you. So, gentleman with the blue shirt, yes, and then the checked shirt at the back.
This is a question for the co, Daniel Wheeler from the Gleaner newspaper in Jamaica. You were just here in Jamaica for the Character Games. I wanted to find out one question. How far do you think the Caribbean is from hosting a World Championships? And what will be the key, the critical factor in that assessment in giving, whether it's Jamaica or any other country in the Caribbean, World Championships, given the demand and the love that the Caribbean have for athletics?
Well, I had a good opportunity here to speak to the Minister Babsy, Mrs. Grange, and she was talking to me about the program that now sits behind the refurbishment of your national stadium in Kingston. And when and if that is achieved, that will be a world-class facility. And I'm sure that Jamaica is ambitious enough to want to stage our WAS events, whether they're World Junior Championships. You had a hugely successful one, I think in 2001, I think it was the championships where Usain Bolt emerged with a clutch of junior world records. And of course, even discussions about world relays have been mooted. So look, it's about facilities, it's about operational ability as well, and all those things will, I hope, will be discussed in years to come.
Thank you. And then the gentleman, yep. Is that all at the back? Yep. Okay.
A question for Renee or Seth. I'm Tom Botsey with Northwest Public Radio out of Seattle. I'm curious how many athletes have had to withdraw from these World Championships because of a positive COVID-19 test in the last 10 days.
So our numbers on COVID are there are 58 cases of COVID, 10 are with athletes, and so far only 3 athletes have had to withdraw before they competed. Thank you. So, gentleman here, then we'll go across to you. And one at the back as well.
Thank you. To Loco, this month marks, you have been writing for Local List in Israel. This month marks 10 years anniversary to London 2012. Games that, a little bit conceptually, like this ones were branded around culture, heritage, history, rather than size. Looking with the benefit of 10 years' time, is there anything that you can advise Oregon or even LA to learn from London 2012 in terms of legacy and moving forward?
That's a long answer, and I promise you I won't keep you beyond the start of the competition this afternoon. The most important thing to remember about legacy is it is not the responsibility of the local organising committee. Legacy is something that local, national, and even, well, local, regional, and national governments have to be across. And if there is a lack of legacy, look at the politicians, don't look at the local organising committee. Local organising committee's responsibility, and I've already said this to Casey Wasserman in Los Angeles, and I think we had this conversation, Max, a year or two ago. The responsibility of the local organising committee is to deliver the best possible event. Because if you do not have the best possible event, in fact, if you have an event that is significantly less than optimal, that there will be no appetite for a discussion about legacy afterwards. But legacy is not something you should address once the championships are over. A local organising committee can help enable legacy in the way it designs its stadiums, in the way that it reduces public and social and political engagement. All those things are enabling, but it isn't the responsibility. So if you come back to Eugene in 10 years' time and you want to make an assessment of legacy, then look at your state, look at your regional, and look at your local political leadership. That's where it sits.
Thank you. Gentleman over here.
Thank you. Mario Corriere from Italy. A question for Lord Coe. Could you tell us something about the discussion about the possible new format for the future World Championships in terms of number of days? Are 10 days the good length for the format of the championships? Possible to split road event and track and field events? And last, something about discussion about the race walking at the Olympic Games, in particular possibility for 35K to have in the program of the Olympic Games. Thank you.
Yeah, look, on the formats, I don't think we should ever feel that existing formats are absolutely sacrosanct. We know the challenges. We know the challenges with, and this is not a criticism of here or any other championships. We just know the existing challenges of having 10 days. Morning sessions, you want flow, you want content, you want people in a stadium that are actively engaged. And maybe looking at 10 days, you're just not going to get that you're not going to arrive at that easily. So I'm not sitting here saying it's there's an imminent change. We have our championships that are contracted and agreed up until 25. But I instinctively think that there are lots of things that we want to achieve in our sport, and 10 days is quite a challenge. It's quite a challenge for broadcasters, it's quite a challenge for the public, it's quite a challenge for the fans, and it's quite a challenge for organising committees. So that's sort of where my head is at the moment, but I don't have a tightly prescriptive view, but it has been my view for some time that we are going to have to address that. Well, race walk is as you know, we decided that the 50K in our own World Championships was not something that was a sustainable distance. These are never easy judgments, and we felt that, in conjunction with the race walking community, a large number of them felt there was need for a change. We've done that, and the International Olympic Committee will always, in terms of the event itself, take their lead from the international federation. So that's that will be the distance as well.
Okay, thank you. There's a gentleman at the back in yellow, then Alex will come to you, and then you, and then we just wrap up. So if the gentleman in yellow can stand up, then you get a microphone to you. No, not yet.
Kermit, Nassau, Bahamas, and this is not going to be a Carifta question. But during the Carifta Games in Jamaica, the Prime Minister of the Bahamas and a number of diplomats from the Bahamas would have spoken with you regards to getting the World Relays back to the Bahamas. Is there anything you could talk about with regards to the World Relays?
Yeah, we're now in a bidding process. It's open and available. The Bahamas has shown keen interest. I had a further discussion with I met the Prime Minister, as you said, in Jamaica at Carifta, and also your Sports Minister. I met a delegation of Bahamas, including Mike Sands, the President of the Track and Field Federation, and your Sports Minister yesterday, and we're in open discussion. But there's a lot of interest as well. That's the important thing. The World Relays, we're going to alter the format slightly. We're going to tie it much more into having a trials element in that, which we think will make it more appealing for cities to bid for. And already there are a good number of cities that have shown interest, which is a healthy sign.
Great. Alex, you put your hand up, they'll get a microphone to you. Keep your hand up.
Alex Castick, BBC, question for Seb. I know that I accept Usain Bolt was an exception, but in terms of transcending the sport, but in terms of current athletes, is there anyone competing right now who can come close to filling that void and help you grow the sport, not just in this country, but across the world?
Yes, absolutely. Look, it's an inevitable discussion. It's a bit like, talking about Muhammad Ali when he, left the scene in boxing. You have a richness of boxers that followed, but nobody's going to be Muhammad Ali again. We recognize the unique nature of what Usain Bolt brought to our sport and contributed to it. But I have to tell you, if I'm looking at it as the president of a global sport, I actually am more optimistic about the bandwidth of talent that is coming through. 40% of the athletes here are under the age of 25. 51% of them have never been to a World Championships before. And when you've got, you've got the performances that we've witnessed in just the last few days, whether it's Noah Lyles, Arian Knighton, Shawnee Miller, Sydney McLaughlin. I mean, where do I start? So yeah, we've got Mondo this afternoon as a rock star. So yeah, there are absolutely athletes out there that can, I'm not saying it's a void, it's inevitable, because Usain is such a unique character, person, the talent, that if you look at times, you've got a whole heap of young athletes sort of there or thereabouts.
Thank you. And then lady here, any other questions?
Hello, Victoria for BBC Sport Africa. Is there any plan for World Athletics to have more world-class athletics events organized in Africa, on the continent, meetings? No, I'm not talking about world championships.
Yes, as you know, we are now driving very hard our continental tour program. I'm always indebted to the Kenyan Federation, particularly Jackson Tuwe, that helps us off the ground with our Nairobi meeting, and we have intention to have many more of those in Africa. It's very important. I'm ambitious. I'd like to see a Diamond League event there as well. That's a slightly different structure. So yeah, we need more competitions in Africa. and those discussions are taking place. I'm only sorry that the leadership of African athletics wasn't here for us to continue that discussion.
Okay, so we've got two more questions, thank you. Gentleman in the middle, hand up, thank you. And then John at the front there.
Adam Kilgore with the Washington Post. This is for Max. Talking about some of the athletes we've seen here tonight, we'll see, I think, Mo at the 800 meters. She's already got 2 gold medals. She's 20 years old, great personality, seemingly everything you'd want in an athlete. Where do you think she kind of fits into the plan of making track and field more popular? What could her place be in that, heading into Los Angeles?
Well, we are certainly proud of her athletic performance. She's an incredibly charming and wonderful individual. I think that we have all put our heads together and we're really committed to, again, building the brands and telling the stories of our athletes. Some of the performances that we've seen on our team get us personally excited about what we can do to connect our team to the general consumer. We have one of the most diverse teams in the world in terms of stories, contribution. They all work hard, but Athing is an incredibly special athlete, and we really plan on using her as one of the faces of our team as well.
Thanks, Max. John.
Question for Renee. We've spoken about what's gone well, what might need to be fixed, but what is it about these championships that surprised you the most?
I was pleasantly, and continue to be even today, pleasantly surprised by the way the world embraced this very small community. In my 10 years at USA Track and Field, I've been to a few world championships, all of them in the last, and they've been in large cities, with different offerings. This is a unique community and a unique part of the United States. And I just smile every time I walk around in different venues and see everyone enjoying what the local community has to offer. Pleasantly surprised.
Thank you, Renee. Okay, so last session coming up, 8 medals up for grabs. Go get them. Thank you. Well, not you, obviously, because you're not competing, but go report on it. Thank you.